Hello, this is Mr. Reynolds. We're in the biology lab, and today we're going to dissect a fetal pig. So here we go. Here's one little piggy. We don't have a name for it yet. Incision was made going lengthwise from around the umbilical region, from the cervical down into the pelvic region, and then a transverse cut across the abdominal region. And then we're peeling those back. We've done a little bit more on that also. And you can see a lot of the insides right now. Okay, so I'm going to get a probe that doesn't have a sharp point on it because I don't want to pierce some of the organs here. Here is the heart. Okay, we see a coronary vessel coming down. Ventricle. Here's a lobe of the atria. Okay. This is the left atria, so this is going to receive blood from the lungs, pump it down into the left ventricle, and that's going to pump it out to the rest of the body. Over here is the right atrium. You see different colored on those, or colored blue on that. Okay. This is pretty cool where you see the lobes of the lungs come up around the heart. So each time the heart beats, lobe, boop, boop. The lungs are going to move also. It's going to move in the whole pericardial cavity is going to move some. All right. Below it, this is pretty cool. The cool look. We said this was one of the muscles that you learned early on. The one that's basically like the top of a drum. Okay, where it runs transversely across. This is the diaphragm. Okay, and this is a piece that I'm tugging on right now. You can see some of it in here also, all right? And this is going to separate the thoracic cavity, it's going to have heart and lungs and mediastinum in it, from the abdominal pelvic cavity, so all this is lobes of the liver. Okay? Remember, the liver is the main organ for detoxifying anything that's in your body. Okay? Here's a good look at Here's a good look at this blue vessel right here. So this is this is a major vein that's running down. Well, it's bringing blood back to the heart. Okay. Some of the blue latex that you see around here, this pig, they would have injected the veins with blue dye so that we could see it really, really well. Okay. And so some that has burst over time. How much time, you ask? I don't know. This is preservative that it's in. It's supposed to keep it for a long time. And so far it has. Other structures that we want to see. I'm going to move the liver out of the way a little bit. Okay. It looks like organ's been cut out of here. Probably some of the stomach has been cut and removed. This is small intestine. Okay. The main organ for absorbing nutrients. All right. I'm going to scoot these out of the way in the back, lower back side. A punch that boxers are not allowed to throw is one in the lower back, because that's where which organ? Here's one of them. Okay, where these kidneys are located. Kidneys in the lower back. Okay, right down here. Barely see the kidney from it. Okay. So beans are named kidney beans because they have this same shape on it. All right. You just labeled major veins and arteries the other day. And the arteries and veins going to and from the kidneys are the renal arteries, renal veins. Okay. The main ones coming off of the descending aorta. Let's see if we can find that. Descending, all I see is blue, so I don't see any red for the arteries. But the blood vessels coming to and from the liver are hepatic. So if those are infected, someone might get hepatitis, an infection of the liver. Okay. Again, here's part of the diaphragm that we see. Now, it's kind of neat when we peeled the skin and peeled it back already. Comes up here. Okay, if you look inside here, let's see if we can see this inside pretty well. Where I'm touching one of the, it's going to be a rib bone, okay? And you can't see this great. I'm going to turn it just a little bit more and see if we can see some of these ribs to be. Now I said ribs to be, these are fetal pigs, which means the precursor of bone, what's present before bone is there, except in some of the skull bones. Okay? Except in some of the skull bone, well, actually these are still mainly hyaline cartilage also, okay? Because the mommy pig can have a lot of little baby ones. There's plenty of room for them to come out. So I would think even the cranial bones only have to be so, they only have to be ossified to a certain extent, which is different in us. In humans, our cranial bones are very well ossified at birth, and everything else is still predominantly hyaline cartilage. And it slowly changes into bone. Okay, you named some bone names before, some parts of bone, osteocytes, osteoblast, osteoclast. Osteo is bone. Okay, so osteoblast move into the cartilage, start laying down bone tissue. When they bone, hard stone, calcium carbonate, like a stone wall, they start laying that around them. When they're encased in it, then they're called an osteocyte. Okay, and at that point, humans are about a year old then. Enough calcium in their legs, calcium phosphate, where they can stand, calcium carbonate, and they can stand up then. It's not just hyaline cartilage like is on the tip of your nose. Okay. Let's look at, I'm not really seeing large intestines well down here. A lot of tissues that's been cut out of the way. Like I said, mainly cartilage first of all. Let's look at the skin here. And these little baby piggies, so we don't see really well-defined muscles yet, but I'm separating the skin layer, the outer layer of skin, from some skeletal muscle. Okay, so my fingers right now are touching some of the layers of the skin, and I'm going to pull on it, and the forceps or tweezers are grasping onto some of the skeletal muscle. Now there's smooth membrane around that also, some areolar tissue, loose, common, ordinary tissue. It's all over the place. It's a type of connective tissue also. Okay. Here's another look at some of the muscle without all the blue haze in there. Okay. When we see the skin, kind of a thin layer of the skin there, and areolar tissue is this cobwebby stuff. Underneath it is a lot of muscle. Okay. In fact, when you eat some bacon, bacon is pretty much the abdominal muscles of the internal, external obliques of pigs. All right. I'm looking up here in the throat region. Trying to angle this so we can see it real well in the throat region. Where when you swallow, food goes down the esophagus to your stomach, which was over here, and I think that got cut out, okay, by a group that had this before. A lot of things, tissues over the trachea. I was trying to find the trachea. That's not going to be too easy to find, so we're not going to cut more and do that. If I'm going to try to cut up this leg just a little bit, this arm, and peel it back and see how well developed this bone is that's going to be present here. Okay. Okay, I'm pressing down and I can feel some hard object in there, so that's got to be the bone. Everything else is considered soft tissue. If you get an x-ray and you're looking at that, it's the x-rays can't get through the bone. That's harder stuff. But they can get through all the other stuff. They go through all the other soft tissues, the tendons, the ligaments, the adipose tissue, the areolar tissue, any cartilage. It goes through all that, what's considered soft tissue. And soft tissue is mainly when you studied, when you had to answer some questions and saw a diagram on the joints. That's if you have free movement of bones, like I have with fingers here, any free movement of bones, the bones aren't touching. So it has to be real strong. It's soft tissue, but it's real strong structures holding that together. Okay, I can feel this bone in here starting to. Okay, this is good and hard, so it's not just cartilage anymore. But this is a pretty big little piggy. So he's got some. It has some bones already on the way to being ossified. Okay. Well, I want to cut this out now. So I'm going to look for a joint, which is soft tissue. And I should be able to cut through that pretty well. This scalpel is not going to want to go through bone, but I can cut through the joint. And I just look to see where it was bending, and I cut through there. That's all soft tissue in there. Okay. So I cut through that. Got some bone. I've got my fingers holding on to the bone here. I'm going to peel some of this other soft tissue off of it. All right. Try to leave that bone exposed. And it's the same color as everything else around, so it doesn't really stand out as you're watching it. But I'm just going to. Okay, this is kind of sick a little bit. I'm going to twist it just a little bit and basically rip it out of that joint is what I'm doing. Okay, because it's not bone that I'm ripping out of. Remember, the bones don't touch. So it's soft tissue that I can do this with. Okay, and it wants to be hung up a little bit. So take my scalpel, good scalpels, cut this away. All right, so this is the bone of the forearm of this thing. I'm going to leave it right. Set it down there and see if we can see it. Okay, so this is, I don't see it yet. There, okay, here we go. So here's the bone. And this was in it, this was its forearm bone, like would be equal to your humerus. Okay. And there we have that. There's up in your shoulder, you have a ball and socket joint. You can see where the ball fits into that, which is different. This is your humerus has the ball on it. Okay? This would be fitting into a ball joint on it. Interesting. Okay, well, I think I'm about done here because I've had fun. And thank you very much. Bye.